Hello, friends. This is Sifu Fiore, the Golden Flower, and I wanted to address our current immigration crisis as an Italian Catholic. Over 100 years ago, well, actually longer than that, from the late 19th to the mid 20th century, there was a great influx of Italian Americans who were extraordinarily discriminated against. I think they passed an anti-immigration law to stop it, and it was effective, and there was a ban on immigration of anybody. Anyway, this Team Arrivals, if people might remember, excellent book. They turned it. Oops. Sorry, Grandma. They turned this into a book. Just one page of it was what a mess I made. The movie was just one page of this book. You've got to read all of it. John Seward was the Secretary of State. He ran against Lincoln in the elections. They tried to assassinate him as well on the night of the assassination. I'm sure you've all heard of Seward, Alaska, but they call that Seward's Folly. Now I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about the discrimination that Italian Americans, like my grandmother, had to face and to overcome. When they came here as immigrants, they came here with high hopes. Like most immigrants, they had a hard time learning English. My grandmother was born here. She was named Carmela Maria Francino. She married my grandfather, Giovanni Giuseppe Fiore. This picture was taken, she was born in 1906. This picture was taken circa, I'm going to say, I don't know, 1916, something like that. She's receiving her first communion. John Seward was considered very liberal in his day. This was the Republican Party, by the way, not the Democratic Party. They were the party that helped to free the slaves. Just a little bit more facts about Italian Catholics and the relationship with America. They had to create a parochial school system to protect our children who were getting beaten up, called all kinds of terrible names, made fun of, etc., because they were Catholic and Italian or Irish. Same thing for the Irish Catholics. They lived on the other side of town, but they still didn't get on with the Protestants. As everybody knows, the Protestants came to America first on the Mayflower. Well, sooner than that. But they did not consider the native peoples to have a soul. The Catholic Church did. And there was slavery in the Catholic countries of imperialism. However, the Pope did not condone slavery, number one. And number two, it was the only church at that time that condemned slavery. What people did was on them. So this is from the Catholic Church in that time. At that time, he also told people to be more tolerant. Nobody listened. There was one night where a group of thugs threatened to burn down a Catholic church, and all the men of the parish and all the women and children of the parish stood around the church in a circle while men with guns and torches, bats, and clubs threatened their lives. And I believe that church was burned down. They didn't want it in their neighborhood. As you can see, the juxtaposition of accepting the native peoples and all the other peoples that were found was that they had a soul. You don't have to believe in a soul, but it's the concept. At that time, that came closest to what we call modern humanitarianism. I don't know how many modern humanitarians practice this, but if you do, its history is from the Catholic Church. I thank you on their behalf. So after the creation of Catholic schools, Seward ran against Lincoln, and Lincoln had a tough time with that election. He just didn't get easily elected. It was brutal mudslinging, terrible contest. Came down to him and Seward, and I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Forgive me. It was really tight. Seward played dirty politics. Lincoln wasn't as clean as you would think, but a much less attacking campaign. It had more Christianity to it. And at that time in America, there were Christians. They called them Protestants. Lincoln, I believe, was one of the few and only honest Christian presidents. And I would also put Jimmy Carter in there. I've met him personally. Jimmy Carter. So finally, I just want to go a little bit into detail about the Civil War era, and how Irish Catholics would come here. They'd get off the boat, they'd be inducted into the military immediately and sent to the Civil War. And most of them never made it back, or their kin stayed south. Here's my grandmother once again. And eventually things calmed down for the Italians, but it took quite some time. We were called criminals. If you say your name with my New Jersey accent, immediately images of The Godfather and The Sopranos come to people's minds, and they insult my integrity by thinking that I'm a mafioso, somebody that kills, murders, lies, and steals. I know a lot of Italians, and most of us, 99% of us, aren't like that. America